Another road trip, another barely a win, but they got it done. The Chiefs are AFC West champions for the 7th year in a row. We'll talk more about that coming up. A lot to dig out of this one. Some pluses, some minuses, but all in all, for 7 consecutive seasons, they have ruled this division. That doesn't buy them much in the postseason. For right now, we have something to celebrate, and we have a couple of things to take away. Welcome to RGR Football. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is Dan Harms. This is what we do live. Our moderator, Aaron Morrow, is in the house, so say hi to him. If you have questions, we're going to go through our notes and our big takeaways, and then we will get to some of your questions tonight. Make sure you hit that and put some question marks in the beginning. And if you're going to support the channel, the Super Chat's the easiest way to do it. We guarantee you an answer to that tonight, as well as later. I'm going to show you the newest thing to celebrate their latest 7 in a row.
Let's go.
AFC West title. I'm kind of happy about that. I was not happy with the outcome of this game. It felt like I was more awake than the team was come the first quarter. Yeah. This is just more of the same as far as I'm concerned. I don't see anything new here in terms of they just played down to their opponent yet again. Didn't quite have it. Defense overall, I think it's a little deceptive. The offense was a little bit, I think, better than it appeared. It's all about turnovers today, to me. What do you take away? What's your number one?
That Patrick Mahomes is incredible, and 2 fumbles and a drop from Justin Watson on a wide open. He underthrew him a little bit. A ball took away what could have been like one of the best performances he's ever had.
Yeah.
And they also had like the MVS where he just kind of underthrew him a little bit on the left sideline. Like this is happening. By the way, guys, this is now the 5th straight game where the Chiefs have not scored a touchdown in the first quarter. That trend is alarming. That's not good. Their red zone offense has been up and down. In the first quarter, it's bad, and then they find a way to kind of get it jarred up in the rest of the games. So the offense, I'm not gonna take too much away because again, they were moving the football again, just like they were against the Broncos. No matter what they wanted to do, they could do it. They keep getting in their own way. Execution has been a problem for this offense, holding onto the football. They now have to -6 turnover differential in the season with the fumble they got at the end of the game. You don't win a lot of playoff games, a lot of championships with a negative turnover differential. Something has to change. They got to find ways to get more balls from the defensive side, because right now, Davis Mills, without Nico Collins, without Brandon Cooks, without Dameon Pierce, kind of carved him up a little bit. Yeah, in my personal opinion, they had some good series, but Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll, a 1-2 quarterback operation in Houston, was doing pretty much, I won't say whatever they wanted, but a good chunk of things that they were trying to get done in this game.
For me, it was the lack of any punch out. I mean, when we take a step back, yes, this felt bad. It was really frustrating. I know you guys want to talk about the refs and the calls. We're going to get to some of that. I promise
we're going to get to it.
There's no way around it. And you know me, we are, if you guys don't know us, we're an analysis channel. This is what we do. We break down football in a number of different ways. One thing you can't really do is break down a situational call by a person who has no responsibility, no accountability to anyone other than the league, because we don't get any information from this. Even if we get a pool report, which I'm really interested to see, we're not going to find out any of these calls.
They also don't have any accountability from the league, because the league official Twitter page is tweeting out false information because they don't care. They're making things up. Like, I'm going to go into it right now, and I'm going to read for you guys word for word the definition of the play that was reviewed. If on-field officials rule forward progress, that replay can only review the position of the ball in relation to the line to gain or goal line and can rule that there is a fumble if possession is lost prior to simultaneously with the defensive contact. If the line is gain or the goal line is not involved, the spot of the forward progress is not reviewable at all. Not reviewable at all. But guess what? Here's what the official tweeted out. In the KC versus Houston game, KC was penalized for a blindside block. By the way, not a blindside block. Right. The ruling on the field was the runner's forward progress was stopped. The ruling on the field, progress stopped. It means, by the definition of the rule, not reviewable. However, the ball was loose immediately upon contact with the defender, making the play reviewable. You guys heard me say the rule out. It's not in there. They're making things up. That's made up.
And I got to tell you, I think it comes down to the fact that this particular head referee has something going on against this franchise because of the history. And I think I don't want to run it all down because that'll just turn this whole stream into a negative. And there are a lot of positives to take away here. Pacheco up and down, George Karlaftis, there's a lot of positives here. But this bottom line is this crew with this leader of the crew should not be calling Chiefs games any longer.
Nope,
especially now that we're talking about going into the postseason. That said, aside from that, we have to take a step back because what did the Chiefs defense actually allow? Because it felt like it was probably a 300-yard game for Mills. It wasn't. It was 121.
It wasn't. Yeah.
It felt like they were able to run at times at will. Total of 94 yards. So we have to separate feel and frustration from those calls from what actually happened. And I want to run this down because I need to verify this. They ended up with net passing of 125, net running of 94. So when you compare that to the Chiefs going for 189 and 313, over 500 yards or just, broke it by 2 yards.
Yeah, they over doubled their total yards on the day.
So you have to take that away. But this goes to show what we always talk about is that turnovers and situational awareness, situational football is what dominates wins and losses. Because if you look at this stat sheet, it should have been 30-12. I mean, that's how bad this differential is. So taking that into account, I think George Karlaftis took last week's performance and actually upped it. I felt he played better except for the one play, and I'm speaking mostly of pass rush. I was really happy with what I saw from him in being aware. He got juked by a quarterback that I don't know has ever juked anyone before.
Ever. Not in his entire life.
But he was juking away from the pressure that Karlaftis was providing. So I came away feeling really good about it. Do you disagree?
I saw a lot of the same from this front four. And Chris Jones apparently has not been feeling well. He missed practice. He talked about not feeling well. That's pretty much why he wasn't a huge factor in this game. But I just did not see a ton of him winning. I saw more of the same from everybody else. But again, I still have to watch the game back. I have to see exactly the wins and losses in terms of what I saw on the field. I also saw a ton of Davis Mills sitting in a clean pocket.
True.
Just sitting there. That it can't happen. I understand. Like I get that in totality, their defense did enough yards wise to win the game, but they got short fields and they allowed touchdowns. That you can't do. And which is funny, coming into the game, they were one of the best in the NFL, keeping teams out of the end zone inside the goal line. We saw it happen twice, 3 times. They just went down and scored in the red zone. So that's alarming.
Yeah, and that was going to be my takeaway is the red zone defense was really bothersome. The up and down, the lack of consistent nature. There were times, especially in the first half, where it just looked like disinterest again. And I don't know if that means the play calls are too complex or they're not game planning well enough. But there was a time, I don't think L'Jarius Sneed actually made an attempt to stop the ball on a tight end that he could run circles around, literally. That was a play. Watson actually had a pretty good rep until that ball was underthrown. He had a chance at not only one, but a second pickoff, but he didn't even make an attempt at the ball. There was just a lack of edge to this team on both sides of the ball, in my opinion, today, that they have to correct.
Yeah. So I know that I've had a couple of questions. I am drinking a Boulevard Creme Brulee. I'm going to read the description. Barley wine, ale aged in bourbon barrels with natural flavors. So this is 13.3%, and it's delicious. You guys, if you can find the sampler, it comes with 3. There's a cherry chocolate one. There's the one that I had last week, which is the spice rum cake, and this creme brulee. Dude, these are amazing. And one of them kind of gets it done for you, especially if you haven't had very much to eat today.
This is why I miss being in the market. I don't get all the special little variations as much as I would like, but variations are what it comes down to, a lack of consistency. Let's get into this because I thought in terms of physicality, the Houston Texans had them in the first quarter.
Oh yeah.
They brought it. They saw what has happened down the stretch in the more physical teams giving the Chiefs problems. I thought the Chiefs actually rallied after they got Pacheco going a little bit. Then Pacheco gives up the ball on the fumble. I was not surprised to see him sit. I think a lot of folks were concerned he was going to stay out.
Yeah.
Were you?
I wasn't concerned he was going to stay out, but I think that the last time he fumbled, they went back to him and said, okay, we're going to feed you again. This time, they saw the way the offense was going, and they said, look, this is now your fourth fumble. You kind of we can't just keep giving you the football right after mistakes like this. You got to take one, and you have to sit and think about it. And then they gave Rojo a couple of snaps, and I mean, he did what he did, and then you didn't see Rojo again because they don't want him to.
I'll take it. He got one touch for 6 yards. Hey,
yeah, I know they don't want him touching the football very much, and it was obvious down the stretch of that game that Jerick McKinnon has been the guy in terms of trust, creating explosive plays consistently every single game in the passing game. And then, he wins the game off of the walk-off touchdown run from him, which was blocked beautifully, by the way. They did a great job getting him into space, and he found it and just took it. So, but this running back room is a little, I'm not sure the word for it, but I would bet they're going to be taking a running back in through the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round this year. Like they're going to be taking one because it's not looking too good right now. I know they've had some production. I think Jerick might come back. He's proven again that he can stay healthy, and he's been extremely important for this team. Do they win all of these games without Jerick McKinnon?
No.
They probably lose both of these games without Jerick McKinnon. Yeah. So I think that he's earned enough of a spot on the roster going forward. He can stay healthy, but he is best in a committee, right? I think that's been proven. But I wasn't surprised to see him go away from Pacheco. He kind of needed a time to think about that. And unfortunately for the young player, he's going to have some mistakes and deal with it, I guess.
You put it perfectly, because in my notes I literally said Andy sat him down for a timeout. That's what he needs. Okay, fine. Came right back in the second half and was able to persevere through that. So that's a positive sign.
Yep.
Yes, that last run from McKinnon, zone with a backside tight end wham just to clean it up in case there's pursuit, because they have given that away a couple of times. There has been outside zone that's been caught from the backside this season. So I was glad to see them add that little wrinkle. There was that one play where it what did I call it? It was goat motion power counter, inside shovel on the 2-point conversion. I thought that was a really nice variation now, because they've given away the shovel stuff in the past just by some of the way they line up, but by using, and if you guys go back and watch that play, Kelsey is running hard for the sideline, because if that doesn't happen, I think they might have even RPO'd it, or they wanted to get a really good fake. So good for them, because when they needed the little details, they seem to come up with them. I have kudos, and I think this is going to shock you guys. Kudos to Frank Clark.
Yeah.
I thought he had a couple of nice rushes in the first quarter. He did simmer down a little bit, looked to get a little bit tired, but he made that play, that punch out, obviously in overtime, and kudos to Willie Gay for fighting that pile. That's why you always dive on piles, because the first guy to get it doesn't always come up with it, and that's why you have to fight for it. So kudos to them for both of that. Batted passes. Colin Saunders got a batted pass today. So while they weren't getting home, at least they were doing something to affect the passer, and I think that went a long way. I don't know if they were actually giving them PBUs in the official stats or not, and that kind of frustrates me.
I know, right? They should, because you work for it. Like Carlos Dunlap, that dude has been putting in work, and I didn't know when they put on the screen that the Chiefs have the most batted passes in the NFL. But again, that kind of shows you where they are as a defense in terms of sacks that the front four gets and the batted passes. I think that they do a good job of blitzing, getting sacks that way. They didn't do a great job of getting sacks in this game. The ball was able to kind of, again, distribute. They had some clean pockets, but the batted passes were huge. And I do think that corners, I know McDuffie got beat down the field a little uncharacteristically by Chris Moore, who's not a very good player. I'll be very honest. He's not. Did you see him the rest of the game?
Nope.
Trent McDuffie really locked it up after that. He was coming down in the run game. Honestly, I think that I saw more Jalen Watson in this game than I was expecting. They keep doing this. They go, last game it was a lot of Josh Williams. This game it's a lot of Jalen Watson. I think Watson played well. He had a couple of snaps a couple of plays where he was in position, some errant balls and what looked like he was probably what a really nice throw would have been just out in front of him on a guy who dropped it. But he's in good position. That's why you're seeing them both play. They're both in good position. The young guys are making some work of their reps, and I think that they saw Watson play well, so they gave him some more time in this game. We'll see how the snap count comes out, but I do remember seeing him on the field more than Josh Williams, but maybe that's just the amount of times he was targeted versus Josh.
It could be. Although I will say overall, I am hoping that this scare. Now we got to be honest. This Texans team is one that just last week put a scare into the Dallas Cowboys as well.
Yep.
So they're punching well above their weight the last 2 weeks. So give them a little bit of credit for what they're doing. But I will say this has got to be the bottom, because this is a team you should have curb stomped and not been a thing. So can this be the bottom where they accelerate again and play better, play stronger all the way across as they get to the postseason? It's got to be. There's only a couple of games left to get there. So by winning the AFC West, that's something. But you got to take it farther than that. That can't be enough. That's just step one on the road. Let's see. We'll start on to your questions. You guys have brought up a couple of my notes here, and we'll get to that. But Dan, run down and see what we didn't cover from Harrison's burner account here.
All right. So thank you, Harrison. Although I think you're having one hell of a season. Bad season, we'll say that. Scheffer and his referee team are atrocious. Yes, very much. They're always terrible every single week. We knew that coming into the game. Offensive play calling was mediocre. Again, we kind of expected that against the Texans. Did you see anything fancy? No, not at all. You saw a pretty straightforward game plan. You're very right about that. Butker is a huge problem now. This season, he's not been good. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they brought him back before he was healthy, and he's still just kind of dealing with the nagging injuries. I don't know. That's something I can't tell you. But what I do know is that I have backed Harrison Butker for missed extra points. And by the way, I still don't care. I don't care about missed extra points. But now we're starting to see makeable field goals that he makes all the time. He's missing them. That game-winning field goal, honestly, should have been a chip shot for him. He just pushed it. The hold was fine, but he's not overcoming some problems. It's in his head now, in my opinion. I think he's just mentally worried in game-tight situations. And even when it's not, he's not mentally checked in. So I'm with you there. Continuous turnover problem. Yep, kind of covered that a little bit. The Chiefs only play on their opponent's level. Yeah, that pretty much covers it. The Chiefs in every single game, except for two, I think, two this season, where they just outclassed the Cardinals and the Buccaneers. Yeah, they pretty much just played to who they're playing. And when it's a tough game, they raise their level, they compete. And when it's a game like this, I don't know what team shows up. I don't know what mentality shows up. And that's something, again, you guys have watched the game plans over the last few weeks. We've harped on mentally staying checked in. It's because they're not doing it. They're not. And I hate coming in and making my number one point being stay mentally checked in. But what am I supposed to do? This team is mentally soft in terms of playing to lesser opponents. And I understand.
This is one thing, and you forgive me for this because I rarely do this, and that is praise Tom Brady. This is one thing that Brady has masterminded. You know, always have a chip on your shoulder. Always think the world is coming to get you because it keeps you on your edge where you need to be. And that is one thing I think they can learn from that. Patrick in particular, because the team follows Patrick, period. Let's not make any qualms about it. As good as Chris Jones is, as good as Travis Kelce is, this team does as Patrick does, period. If Patrick thinks it's foxhole time and we need to come out swinging no matter who it is,
they do.
They do. That's what will happen. And like you said, Brandon, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate your support, buddy.
Appreciate you,
the highest completion percentage on over 40 attempts in history. And that's incredible. He missed 5 passes all day long. So for Patrick, he upped his performance. My question will be, was he vocally not demonstrative enough? Did he not emphasize to everyone else, hey, you have to raise your game too? Or did he do what I think a lot of leaders do and say, hey, I played bad last week. I'm going to change that. I'm going to take care of you guys. And everybody else kind of relaxes a little bit because, hey, Patrick just said he's on now. You know, that's my problem.
I don't disagree. And you don't really know. Like that, those are some things that we kind of think about and just kind of have to opinionize because that's something we'll never understand. We'll never know unless we have one-on-ones with Patrick Mahomes every week. And since we're not getting credentials because the Chiefs don't want to give them to us, which, please Please, we do this like every day. This
PR,
is my
I've only
job.
been doing this 8 years. I
It's
swear
my
to
job
God.
now. It's actually my job now. So this is an everyday thing. It's just think about it. Okay. Just think about it. Maybe I'll see
Someday.
some of you at the Senior Bowl. Hopefully
There you
they let me in this year. So, but yeah, we don't really know. And again, I'd love to think that Patrick was like, guys, I got this. But if Patrick says I got this, everybody else should be also saying I got this too. Like they have to bring that up. Travis Kelce was incredible today. I don't think he had one drop. He didn't make one bad play. And you look at last week, he dropped like 4 passes. He also raised his level of competition, level of play. I don't know anybody else that really did. I mean, MVS had a great catch. Juju had a good game.
I thought Juju hung in there. He had 2 of the bigger hits in this ball.
Yes. Again, getting hit in the head a lot.
Again, there's another call. And guys, we're not going to belabor the calls. Yes, it was terrible. Jeffers' crew needs to not call this team anymore. We agree with you there. The Kelce one was blatant to me as the players. He's been whistled down. The players pushing him to the ground. That should have been the flag. That was after the play and unnecessary.
The throw of Patrick Mahomes, he actually threw him. He just up on the by the way, how many times were the Texans players grabbing the Chiefs players around their necks? How often do you see an arm around somebody's neck?
Yeah, it was over and over.
The ground.
And technically, the throw to the ground is not illegal. And I agree with the broadcast on that. They made it seem like it wasn't a big deal either. Yes, it is, because you're still supposed to protect the quarterback, right? So you need to be issuing a warning there the first time it happens. You need to be telling them to keep their hands out of his face because he got hit in the mask a number of times. And Tyler asked a great question. Why doesn't he get these calls? And with this crew, I think we have to throw it out because I think there's a bias here that we're dealing with this group. But I think in general, it's because Patrick's he's not the biggest, but he's a good sized quarterback. He's tough. He takes hits in the past, and he generally is not affected negatively by physicality put on him, other than the kneecap thing. We'll just we'll take the sneaks out and we'll be okay. So I think mentally, I think a lot of the refs don't call things as easily because he's not built like Jalen Hurts. He's not on the smaller side. He's not thinner. Like they feel that he can take it. And I think subliminally, not like it's agreed upon, but just in the back of their head, they're like, oh, that's not really a foul on him. He's okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense to me either. And along with that, I think also I do want to touch on one other thing about Buckers. I do think there's still a physical issue there. I expect that we might find out he's having surgery in the offseason. Yeah. But as frustrating as it is, and this is the first time in my memory, I haven't had a chance to look it up, that he missed a PAT and a field goal in the same game. That's concerning to me. And so I think that all goes back to the mentality that we were talking about. So hopefully that can get corrected as well. I know a lot of folks are ready to toss him out with the bathwater. I think that's still pretty silly.
It's a little rash. He's literally been the second best kicker in the NFL over the last 4 years. So I think just having a bad year after he got hurt is, if it's not because of the injury, it's a different conversation. But I think you and I both agree it's because of the injury, and it's forced him into missing some kicks that maybe he would have thought he made, and now it's affecting him mentally, whether it's injury related or not. But when that creeps in there, like if he has surgery this offseason, just think Ryan told you right now. Ryan told you it was going to happen.
Stuff happens. What are you going to do? I don't think it's. I understand being frustrated. Yes, there should be a concern. Could this cost them a game? It could.
Justin Tucker missed 2 games. Situation. Yeah. Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals yesterday. When has that ever happened?
I couldn't even tell you. There's a lot there.
So
Terry, I do want to address this one because it is specifically in my notes. In overtime, 3rd down on the first drive of overtime, 3 and 1 and 3rd and 4. They elected to pass on both. The 3rd and 4, the second one was the one where they ran. I think the shortest route was Juju that was like at 8 yards.
No, there was a
across
curl
the middle of the field.
Yeah, there was a curl on the right-hand side, but there was nobody at the sticks anywhere else. I literally yelled. I yelled. Like you and I have the same thing. I watched the replay. There's nobody calling for 3rd and 4. No, what are we doing?
That drove me nuts. And I was already hot because initially the way they all stemmed the routes from the broadcast, it cut it off so much. I was like, if they ran 4 verts on 3rd and 4, I'm going to lose my mind.
They almost did.
It wasn't. There were 2 in-cutting routes. Okay, but that's a situation where that's just a bad play call. That didn't give you a single option across the middle of the field. And if you are, and you know that teams are more likely to blitz you this season than they were last. They're less scared to blitz.
Yep.
So you got to expect you're at least going to have a gap somewhere in the middle of the field because they're sending some fifth person.
Yeah.
I agree is just a shortcoming on Andy's part in particular. I can't tell you who, if it was EB or whatever that balance was today, but those are two plays specifically where I don't want him marching out Mike Burton because that gives away, because they're only going to call 2 calls if Mike's in, and then he has no chance to actually do anything. But I think they left a lot on the field. I thought the one pitch pass or punch pass or whatever the heck you call it to Sky was something they could have done another time or 3. Didn't seem to want to do that very much.
You guys are going to hear about my video. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. Watch my Sky Moore video, because this is exactly the problem this team has. You didn't see Kadarius Toney on offense much, okay? Yeah, that's fine. He's got a pitch count. He was a punt returner, whatever. Sky Moore needs to be more involved. MVS had what, 3 targets in this game, but he caught a touchdown pass. So he's out there all the time. Justin Watson, 1 target, I think, or 2 targets. Sky Moore had a jet sweep.
That's it.
What
Watson with 2, Fortson with 1, and for those who were yelling at me about Fortson, he did get targeted on that play. It wasn't put. You have a guy that can go up to the rim. I mean, put it at 11 feet. Let him go get it. The ball was underthrown. It allowed the defender to get in there. And honestly, Trayvon Smith is not a good player, but they allowed him to look like it today.
Back shoulder it. That was an inaccurate throw from Patrick. Out or outside, that's a touchdown. I promise you it is.
Agreed.
But the fact that Sky Moore is not getting more involved in this offense leads a little bit to its ability to be understood.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce, and Jerick McKinnon over the last month have been pretty much the entire offense.
Well, and they were today too. Travis, 10 receptions on 10 targets. Juju, 10 receptions on 10 targets. McKinnon, 8 on 8. So perfection from them. And I shouldn't leave out Noah Gray, 3 on 3. And
by the way, Noah Gray has been improving a lot. So I'm very happy to see that. Sky Moore just needs some of those targets. He's a very good player. And I'm telling you guys, watch the video that I made. He's pretty much been a run blocking guy for them, which is absurd because he can really run routes. He's breaking off guys like Jalen Ramsey. Get in the football. Like, he can do it. I'm telling you right now, he can do it. So
I'll tell you what, too. Like, he's evolved into the H that I'd hoped he was going to become.
Yeah.
He's still not an inline blocker. He shouldn't. He's grown in that facet, but that's still not him. So kudos to him for getting there. And I think that's going to pay off. How much did you do? Okay, so we just covered Red's question.
Yep.
When are we going to acknowledge that Juan Thornhill is a net negative on the field? Hasn't been the player he was. I mean, you want to go to Deion Bush out there all the time? You tell me.
Honestly, did Juan Thornhill play badly today?
He had at least 2 times where he stood out for me.
Plays, but I mean, like the penalties he got called, I don't necessarily agree that those were on him. I don't think he was in bad. The illegal contact from Philip Dorsett coming and pushing him is a complete BS call. It's nothing. There's nothing there, and that's just Carl Sheffer's calling it against the Chiefs. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not going to like this is the most you're going to hear me talk about refs impacting the game, because typically I'll say you have to play with it. Yeah. They made bad calls against the Chiefs all day, and I'll say it. They did,
and it was lopsided. If you're a bad crew, you call bad calls on both teams. It evens out, and that's generally my attitude as well. Play through that, but this was not. And this, I think, who had that? Somebody has a comment in here. Terry, Carl was mad since he got booed. Yeah, I mean, and I think there's something else there. There's something carrying over. I have to say. But Tyler, thank you as well. Appreciate this. Shall we start the GoFundMe now for Trevor's crew out of their contract?
So funny, I have a tweet here that I'm seeing. It's a tough, painful loss for Carl Sheffers today against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully this knocks him out of the playoffs.
Who tweeted that?
I don't know. Somebody, I just popped up on they follow me. It's KCJP. So JP Phillips at JP Phillips 14 on Twitter. I just put your tweet out on the RGR channel. This is hilarious.
That's awesome. Hey, well done. Good for you. And to that edge, we do have to celebrate that while Carl might be out of the playoffs, the Chiefs are not, and that's because they won the West.
Yep,
and
that's right.
I have something for you guys. I've been planning this for a while, and I want to show it to you because I'm kind of excited about this because I'm not really a graphic designer, but I play one on TV. So this is out as of now.
Yes.
This is 7 years running of the AFC West title.
7 years.
That is what we are right now. And the bottom line is this is true. This is a statement that is absolutely true right now. The nice thing about this is for all of you who have been waiting for the bigger sizes, this goes up to 5X. There's big and tall in the sweatshirt version of this. So we have it all, ladies, men's, and hoodies. Hoodies go up to, I think, 3 or 4X as well. So everybody who's been waiting for that finally got a merch vendor that could pull that off. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you guys want to check that out, I'll put the link here in the discussion and later, but it's all at the RGR store that you can get to from every video we have. So check those out. I ordered myself one yesterday, so hopefully we'll get that before New Year's and before they get to playoff rush so we can go back to getting into that. Quentin, thank you for the support. Please help me understand this team when we go toe-to-toe with the Bills, but are then given a run for our money by teams with the horses and Texans. I mean, that's the thing. That's I think, coaching not controlling the mentality of the team. They are not reinforced to stomp bad teams. They are taught right now, don't risk injury, play just well enough to win, to make yourselves comfortable, and then if you have an issue, you're in a shootout like this. They are not coached to be the Belichick, put every nail in the coffin and seal it.
I want to tell you guys something that I didn't think I'd be prepared to say. I think Brendan Daly needs to be fired too.
Yeah.
Brendan Daly went from the defensive line, where I would argue they've looked 10 times better this year than they did any year under him. And I think that the linebackers today, specifically, outside of some isolated plays from individual players, the linebackers this year have been collectively worse. And now he is their linebackers coach. What is Brendan Daly doing in this defense that you could say, point to him and say he's having a positive impact? And I know that this is not something that I've actually talked about at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he's having any positive impact. Matt House was a really good linebackers coach, and you could see improvements from Willie Gay, from Nick Bolton over the course of that time that he was in Kansas City. Joe Cullen comes in. Mike Dana is playing better. Colin Saunders is playing better. Karlaftis, in my opinion, has improved in his time from Purdue here. Frank Clark is playing better. Granted, that's because he's down like 40 pounds. Right. But honestly, I think the linebackers in coverage are getting worse as the season goes along. They got exposed today. They did.
Yeah. I will say that, but I'm putting that more on the players than I am on the coach.
It's true. You're not wrong. But again, what if you're not improving them in some schematic formation or coaching? What are you doing?
True. I will give you, I feel like I disagree that he needs to be fired in the first place. And I will also say this is first year being a linebacker coach. I think what this illustrates more to me is that Cullen is dramatically better than him all the way around rather than he's bad. You know what I mean? I see him middle.
Okay, well, I'll just say for everybody else, he was supposed to bring a ton of experience from the New England tree. I'm not seeing it. And honestly, with a change, if next year there's a different linebackers coach, would you expect them to be better next year? Because, Joe, especially if they hire someone who's got more experience as a linebackers coach. Joe Cullen comes in as a defensive line coach. They're markedly better than they were anytime, in my opinion, ever under Brendan Daly. I'm just saying, I don't see a huge improvement from the linebackers, specifically down the stretch, to suggest that Brendan Daly is doing his job. Maybe I'm wrong.
Ooh, Frankie, I just saw this. I was not paying enough attention in the chat. I'm sorry. Frankie's got COVID. I hope that you're feeling better.
Frankie, please.
And I'm glad the kids don't have it.
Yeah.
I know everybody thinks that it's a non-issue anymore, but hey, it still affects some people pretty negatively. So.
Long COVID and anyone who has a compromised immune system, by the way, including myself, it can really do some damage. So I'm hoping you're okay, and that everyone else stays healthy in your home.
Yeah, me too. Scott, thanks for this one. You can find mine at Ryan Tracy NFL. That's my normal one. It's down here below us. Dan's is over there. The RGR is the RGR podcast. It's RGR Pods on Twitter. You can find that. And it covers like the beer channel and the tech channel and the other stuff that I do too. And by the way, if you guys are into whiskey, wine, and spirits, started a new series here in December, and people are starting to be worried about my health. I'm just fine. They're little tiny vials. It's perfectly fine. But check that out on RGR Craft if you're into that sort of thing. And Michael, you hit it. I'll just throw this up. I know it's a recent one. Michael, that is our thought that this is an option down the line. Don't know when that line comes to an end, but hey, that is one thing. He's been very successful as a defensive coordinator in the past. The only thing, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is Cullen generally wants to run a 3-4. He has coached a 4-3, but he wants to run a 3-4. That's really his style.
Yeah.
The transition is something we'll talk about in the offseason if it comes to fruition. I think there are some guys that could make this transition now. There's some that would have to either be let go or retooled in some way. So thank you for bringing that up, though. That's a good point. I understand Mahomes can flip a switch, but do you think the D-line can flip a switch? What's your gut tell you, Dan?
No.
Okay.
And that's not because they're not talented. I think that obviously, George Karlaftis has room to grow, but he's still a young player. Again, I try to really reinforce that he's still learning playing defensive end. Mm-hmm. Like, he came over from Greece. This is like his fourth or fifth year playing football ever. Yeah. So there's room to grow there. But if we're being very honest with ourselves, if you look at Karlaftis, Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap, and everybody else outside of Chris Jones, they're not built to win fast. They're not. And that's been the biggest gripe, biggest complaint of mine in this entire drafting process, and bringing in a guy like Spags, who in some areas, his creativity and his blitzing schemes this year, in my opinion, they've been better. The blitzing schemes have been better, but his creativity has been good. The problem is that he's taken a huge step backward by still employing a defensive line philosophy that was successful in the early 2000s, in the mid 2000s. It's not like that anymore. Ball comes out quicker. Quarterbacks are smarter. They know where the blitz is coming from, and if they don't, they have a check down built in.
It hasn't aged well.
No, this is a different defensive age, and this understanding that we can collapse the pocket and force less athletic quarterbacks outside. Guess what? They're all pretty athletic now. So it doesn't really work.
And if you were going to pick at least one, it was probably Mills, and you saw what that did. What did he end up with? 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
For 20 yards on scrambles. And it wasn't designed scrambles, because I only counted one on the day for me. Eric Duke, you have a very good point. Yes. I mean, honestly, there's nowhere I'd rather live in terms of a beer culture than Colorado. I don't care who you are. You can say Maine and all the hazy IPAs, and you can say California and all that stuff. I'd rather be here because you can get good beer anywhere. But yes, I cut my teeth on Red Hook and Boulevard back in the day, and I do miss being there. So, hey, and shout out to BKS. They got a gold this last GABF. So I don't mention them on the channel very often, but hey, kudos to them.
Appreciate you, Scott. Just follow me on Twitter. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Wyatt, thank you for your support, buddy. Our offensive line seemed to take a step back this week. No reason Mahomes should have been pressured so consistently. I can't argue with you overall. I'm not sure what it was, because I don't feel the pass rush from that team was that good. I think they should have been able to run on them a lot more consistently. Still 5.7 a carry, I'm pretty happy with. But it just felt like there was more to be had.
Yeah, no. If you look at the first two drives, they ran the ball once and they went 3 and they punted the ball both times.
Yep.
When I did the game plan, my biggest point was getting Pacheco a 100-yard game. Obviously, the Chiefs ran for nearly 200 yards in this game. But I really thought coming out and running the football against, mind you, the worst rushing defense in the NFL made more sense. And then the next drive after the first two, they ran the ball. And then what did they do? I don't remember. They went and scored a touchdown. and Patrick was throwing the ball all over the yard. Because guess what? When you have a successful run game, it opens up everything. The linebackers then have to commit. They have to be able to commit. If they don't respect it, again, the Chiefs come out almost every single game. We can throw on anybody. If you establish a little bit of a run in the first quarter, you're going to find more success in the passing game throughout the game because they have to respect it. They don't respect them in the first quarter. No team respects them running the football in the first quarter. Not one.
And in particular, you do that a little bit more, the things that they are trying to do to affect the linebacker level, like the delay routes from the tight ends. I thought Noah ran one really, really well today, where he initially blocks, passes the guy off, and then releases. So it's a baby screen, basically, where he's faking a block, but he actually makes contact. I think those are even more effective when you run the ball because the linebackers understand there's contact and they cannot see it coming. There's no way to diagnose that if you're actually going to go out and make a block until you release on a delay. That's great stuff. And it's old school football that I think they're using in a new school way that's really effective. If you guys want to hear more old school, you can listen to my podcast from 17 years ago when I first started this stuff. But if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like and the sub right now because this is a channel you want to be involved with. Our community is the best, and they're all in the chat right now. Kudos to Aaron. Welcome back, everybody who's returning. I think Josh Fan's in the chat tonight. Stevie Keys has made it. Gary Holland's here. All of our big hitters here, and kudos again to FLDB. And I'm sorry about the COVID, buddy. I don't think there's an end in sight for the pressure, Wyatt, until the offseason. That's just the way that it's going to go.
I have an update. By the way, thank you, Wyatt, for your super chat. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now up 17-0 against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's interesting.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it, Tom. Now, if only Tua Tagovailoa could have sealed off their win last night against the Chiefs, against the Bills, that would have been fun. But I would like to put a little bit of a more positive spin on the chat as we probably try to close out in the next 20 minutes. Patrick Mahomes, and again, Jerick McKinnon, Andrew, yes, MVP Jerick McKinnon hit Patrick Mahomes last few weeks. Yes, you are 100% right because they don't win games without Jerick McKinnon. I can't believe I'm saying this. The guy who wasn't on the roster before what? A couple weeks into the
missed half a camp, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks in the training camp. He wasn't even on the roster. The Chiefs are not where they are right now without Jerick McKinnon.
Very true.
No offense to Isaiah Pacheco, who again is a rookie. No offense to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's hurt. He's been the best running back in Kansas City this season, down the stretch when you need him. I do think they're missing Clyde in the red zone a little bit. Jerick's had some improvement, but I think Clyde in the red zone obviously had 5 or 6 touchdowns this year before he got hurt. You're missing a little bit of that, but they've done a great job of implementing Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon's I think you've noticed a little bit of his speed reduction, specifically on that first check down that was on third down where he could not outrun the defensive guy coming to get him, and he was like, "Oh, what do I do?"
Hang it.
Yeah, so he's missing that gear that he used to have, but he's still a fast guy. He catches the ball well. He picks up blitzes well. He executes the offense exactly the way they want him to, that they want a running back to. And I can't give him enough credit for everything that he's gone through to his career up until now. And I think that he's contributing better than he ever has in his football career. So hats off to Jerick McKinnon, because without him, the Chiefs probably lose both of these games, if not one or two of them. Or one of them.
He's been a difference maker, and let's use him to the most of his ability until the inevitable happens. Terry, good question. We were talking about running backs in the draft before. I know all you K-Staters want Deuce Vaughn on this roster. I'm not going to argue, except I think he might go top 100. I'll take him on late day 3 or UDFA because he's got a spark to him. You don't like him much, Dan?
I just don't think the Chiefs are going to take a smaller running back again. I think they're going to look for a little bit bigger of a back. You know, Isaiah Pacheco's a bigger back. He's got that speed. Honestly, if Frank Gore Jr. declares, because he is a COVID sophomore, I don't know if he can or not, they should be looking for him on day 3. He has it all. He literally has it all. And he has the speed that Frank Gore never had. He has the speed that Frank Gore never had.
He hasn't had the ACLs.
I don't think Frank Gore ever had the speed that his son has. I don't think he ever had it. I've watched him at Southern Miss. The dude's a stud. He just put up over 300 yards like in his bowl game.
Was that yesterday? Okay.
That was yesterday.
I saw the headlines, but I didn't see the stats. So
It's insane. But yes, I do think that they're going to be drafting a running back, probably a bigger guy. I understand Deuce Vaughn gives a little bit more spark, but he's kind of like a smaller slot receiver. And they have a small guy in not Jarek McKinnon, but Jerrion Ely that might end up getting maybe some playing time next year.
I love Charbonnet in that role. He's probably my favorite back in this class. He's going day 2. Exactly. He won't be there. And I will be pissed if the Chiefs spend the top 100 on him. They can't go to that well. Top 100 is not for running back, and you guys can argue with me in the offseason. We'll get there. Jaden, thank you for the support, buddy. Hope you're doing well. 7 in a row. Let's go. But this team has been playing bad the last 3 weeks. Yeah. Is it just it's just bad? We have to set it up to win versus a great team. I agree with you, and I think they're just trying to get through the rest of the schedule. I think they're saving stuff. I think in the back of their minds, all these wins on paper, they feel like they can just show up and bring their C game and win, and that's the problem.
That's it. They think their C game is good enough. Yeah, like the Texans, I don't know if you guys watched last week. They out-physical the Cowboys. They just said, we are going to play physically. We're going to do something a little bit different with our 2 quarterbacks. We don't have all the players that we want to have, but they just out-physical them. And the Cowboys thought they could walk in to that game and just beat the Texans. The Chiefs did the exact same thing. And the Texans brought the physicality. And the Chiefs, they had some response, but the Texans were still hitting them in the 3rd and the 4th quarter. They were still being physical. And that's something that you're going to probably see going into the postseason. Teams thinking the Chiefs are just soft. That's going to be a theme.
And then they got to prove it wrong.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you for the support, buddy. And this game was beyond frustrating. Hey, Dan.
Thank you, Michael. Hi. Appreciate your support.
I like this when I get to narrate a hey, Dan. Daryl, thank you, buddy. What's going on with the defense and watching the game late? Honestly, just a lack of fire is what it looked like to me. I didn't think they felt the Texans could hurt them. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. They didn't think that there was anything the Texans could do that would result in them possibly losing this game, and they nearly did. They nearly did in overtime. It should never happen. It shouldn't. And I'm trying. I want to keep this more positive because, again, 7 years in a row, that doesn't happen. The team won the AFC West 7 years in a row. That doesn't happen. Please, look at this. 7 years. 7.
And that's why I wanted to put it out there, the years in the pyramid, because it's just incredible when you think about it. That run, it had never happened to 5, was it? When they took over the most. Yeah. And now it's gone that much farther beyond it. So I think that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, that's the big takeaway is they've done enough to get there. Now it's regroup, focus, maybe a little Zen concentration and get yourself into the postseason mode a little early.
Let's talk a little bit about some positivity. Brandon Williams, since joining the roster, has 2 sacks in 2 games, by the way.
Right.
He is going to be, if the Chiefs defense figures it out, he is going to be a huge boost to that front 4 because he can legitimately rush the passer and stop the run. He is a dude. I'm excited to see him in the postseason quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I was very middle of the line when it first happened because what I know about his last stop, he played himself out of playing time due to his conditioning.
Yeah.
He was not able to consistently participate, let alone affect outcomes. So I am really tickled to see him being this good. And that's another thing where in that interior defensive line group, he can be a spark there. And that's what they need as well, Daryl.
Yep, that's right.
Not to make a play on your name, Daryl, but I appreciate it. Gray Washington, I like that. I have a friend up in Gray Harbor. This time, we need to get to 30 to get to a Super Bowl. Yeah.
I do not disagree with that right now.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with it.
I'm not going to argue with you either. Oh, too many options here, Dan. Dang. Holly, thanks for the gift subscription last week to Cole. Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. I didn't even know that had happened, but thank you. Holly, very, very kind of you, and you're always giving, and just like you are right here. So awesome. Thank you very much for us. Holly. I feel like a bad fan. I purposely didn't watch the game or social because I knew it would end up ugly, and I didn't want to stress today. 5 quick highlights, Lola, I should be watching for tonight. End of the game, they're going to show you that one. Nice play from Frank Clark and Willie Gay. The hit on Juju, they're probably going to show you that a ton as well. what's getting lost in all that is that Juju made a nice play in the first place, took the hit, his second big hit of the week. And yes, he did lose control of the ball, but he went to the ground with it. By every replay that I saw, he still had that. And the whole thing that they recovered, it was the biggest BS that I saw in the first place.
Clear recovery. He was on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
With the football.
His butt hit the ground with the ball in his possession. So, yeah, that's one. There's a Noah Gray highlight that I really liked. There is obviously my favorite play, obviously, in the run game, McKinnon accelerated through outside zone, just ate him up and hit that last play to win the game. But his 2-point conversion was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that one as well.
They're going to show a lot of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was surgical.
Yeah.
Surgical. You should watch at least some of the throws that he was making. Again, a drop from Justin Watson on what should have really been a touchdown throw from Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But the run was nice. The run probably, I think, to get them in field goal range on that third down, which was like nearly 20 yards. It will probably be one to watch as well. Let's see, anything defensively. I think there was a couple just Jalen Watson plays that you'll want to go back and watch because he was in good position a lot in this game. A couple of hits, but again, the fumble from Frank Clark to what ended up being like a pinball play. It was in like 5 different spots off of the quarterback's knee into Leo Chanel, who tips it forward and then ends up being Willie Gay, who recovers it. That's something you're definitely going to want to watch. It was fun.
Agreed. Thank you, Holly, as always. And thank you, Gray Washington. Appreciate you. Is the offense missing Hardman? Somewhat. He's missing the threat that he brings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, they're forced to use Sky more on these jet sweeps. And like I said, the reason I wasn't as high on him as everybody else, because his speed is not NFL like a 4.3 speed. It's not. And I know that he tested decently in the 40. His game speed is not the same. So he's being used in the McCole Hardman role, but McCole is legit NFL 4.3 speed. And you can see it. The difference in speed is very obvious between the two. So Sky Moore is being used in a little bit different way that, in my opinion, negates his effectiveness. He is a slot receiver. Maybe you can use him on the outside a little bit with short to intermediate routes, which is exactly what I said when he was drafted. And that was my scouting report. I'll pull it up for you guys. He can eat in the short and intermediate throws. And McCole destroys defenses. He is a legitimate threat that even MVS isn't. MVS takes a little bit more time to get there. McCole is blink and you miss him speed. Okay. So yes, this offense is absolutely missing the threat that he is. And when he comes back, they're already doing a ton without him. I honestly think they're going to legitimately be unstoppable with a whole healthy McCole Hardman, and it might get him re-signed in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I think they have something cooking in the process that they're going to deploy with both those guys and Tony in a triangle on one side of the formation.
I'm feeling this, by the way.
I'm sure you are. I am sure you are. Cali Cash, are we underperforming or are we not motivated because of the lesser opponent? I think one leads to the other, Cali Cash. Thank you for the support. I think they're not scared because the opponents are lesser. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they're not as sharp. They're not executing as well as they should be because they ain't scared.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'd hope this would start to scare them. I don't know. Thank you, Callie. Appreciate you. Britton, do you think Patrick doesn't get the calls because he doesn't cry about as much as other quarterbacks? He often talks to the refs about it, but you rarely see him complaining. I don't know what's actually being said, so I can't necessarily make that argument. If it could be true, and if it is, it would make sense to me because he doesn't seem quite as like acting like how did I not get that call? Like he's more aggressive, like, hey, he's doing this to me. You know what I mean? Maybe that's something he can learn as well. Julie, I don't always go rogue, but when I do, I'm locked on. I like that.
Awesome.
And I'm not always locked on, but when I'm not, I'm usually going rogue. There we go. Okay, got that one. The Raiders the hardest game left? Maybe.
Yeah. I'll say that the Seahawks are still better than the Raiders.
Yeah.
But again, in division, they didn't come to play against the Raiders earlier in the season. Do I think they're going to again? Probably. So you never really know. And again, that one's in LA. And I think that are they home against Seattle too?
I don't recall. Hang on.
Okay, I'll have to check.
Here, you check.
Yeah, I was about to say I'll check.
Okay, you check. I'll get this next one. But thank you, Lev. Good question.
Appreciate you.
John Coy, Maggie to OC. If Bieniemy departs, yes, I think that's the natural progression of things.
All right, so they are at home against the Seahawks.
Okay, cool. Lev, okay, got his. Miss Holly, Ryan is making me miss Colorado. Okay. Well, hey, doors are open. It's a beautiful night here tonight. It's cold, but it's happy. And happy holidays to you guys. Aaron is throwing that out. So make sure you pass that on to everyone else. We appreciate you guys very much. If you are new to us, like and sub, that would help us and help you get more information because we're not just passing the torch around. We're giving you our breakdown tonight. Yeah. We're going to answer all your questions tomorrow night on the Q&A that we do every week at 6 Central. So check that out as well. How did you feel about McDuffie today? I know there was one big play, but overall, what'd you think?
He didn't get targeted much. Like the big play, he was beat by Chris Moore. Again, I told you at the big top of the show, that's not a very good player. And Trent did get beat by him. I think he kind of underestimated the speed because he is a quicker guy. So I think he definitely underestimated that to an extent. Sometimes you can overtrust your recovery speed, and I think he did there. But outside of that, again, I think he was good. And they didn't target him a ton outside. Trent McDuffie doesn't get targeted a ton. He just doesn't because he's in good position 90% of the time. And I think that typically deters quarterbacks from attacking, especially when the middle of the defense is so soft.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the majority of the harm was coming from, was in the middle of the field. So McDuffie, I think he recovered from that big play well. He came down in the run game as much as he could. He's still trying to be a complete corner, and I really like that from him.
I'm glad. And I agree. I think he did underestimate him. I do think he bounced back. I think he got another target at least that I felt he was on top of. He's one of the guys that I want to watch on replay because I didn't think they had enough to really push him.
Yeah. So
let's see how that comes out. Let's see here. We got a couple more, and then we're going to wrap it up, you guys. So if you have a question or a super chat, get it in. Should Tunsil be an off-season target for the number one this season? We have picks. Do we need to protect the franchise? That's going to be outlandish. That's going to be multiple ones.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. If Laramie Tunsil is on the trade block, I don't care if it's multiple ones.
Yeah, you're good with that? What is he, 26, 27?
Something like that. He's entering the prime of his career. Do you think that protecting Patrick Mahomes is worth it? And do you think that this offense, if they had a functional left tackle that is athletic enough and who's also, by the way, he's probably a top 7 left tackle in the NFL. He might be even top 5 left tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
Do you think I believe that that's worth the investment because you're also going to have to pay him. So you have to remember that that's on top of it. I think that that's worth it. If he's on the market, mind you, I'm going to be looking and sniffing around and calling 100%.
Yeah. I think in pass pressure rate, I think he's number 1 in the league. Yeah. So I can understand that. If they choose to go that way, I can't say right now that they have many options other than that if they want to upgrade from Orlando. I think Orlando hasn't lived up to his trade, but I don't think it's a long shot either. You overpay for tackles in this league if you want to lead. So I think that that's worth it. So let's see what happens, Drunken. And for those of you, I saw in the chat that somebody's having trouble with the Kingdom 22 code on the gear store. It is live and 4 people have used it in the last 3 days. So it is working. Make sure you're using all caps 22. And if not, the newest one, 7 AFCW, all capital letters, is functional as well. So keep that up. That's right there with that new shirt as well. So check that out. And let me know in the chat if you're still having problems. We will figure something else out. Let's see. Daryl, thank you. Okay, we won the West, but why don't I feel good?
It's ugly.
This is what we talk about with players coming out in the draft every year. This is why no one's happy with Clyde. It's expectations versus delivery. And they should have beaten these last 2 teams by a lot more, and they haven't. At the end of the day, and I know I say that a lot, but it really is true in this league. At the end of the day, they got the 2 things they had to do. The defense improved in the yardage that they gave up, and they got a W. That's all they care about at the end. Clark Hunt even came out after the game and said, the most important football is yet to come in the postseason. They don't care. As long as there's a W, that's all they want.
And that's what you noticed. The Chiefs have a Super Bowl, okay? They know what it takes to get there. Guess who doesn't? The Bengals, the Bills. They don't know. They've never done it. The Bengals got there last year, in my opinion, largely based on lackluster performances from other teams. I think they should have gotten beat by the Chiefs. They should have gotten beat by the Titans. They didn't, and it showed up. I think they're a better team this year, but they're hungry because they didn't get it. The Bills haven't made it there. They're hungry. The Chiefs have won. Do you see that same hunger? I don't. And again, I didn't even see it in the year they went back to the Super Bowl. I'll be honest with you. I didn't see it then.
Yeah.
You see it more in the postseason, and that's what they're banking on. They're banking on making enough plays against bad teams to squeak by, save all of their good play for the postseason. That's what it is.
Particularly in the play design aspect and the plays that they call. I completely agree with you. Daryl, thank you again. Something else that's good is that right now they got out of today with 0 injuries. And I saw Lucas Niang on the sideline. He's dressing. That's a positive. Something goes down with one of the tackles, they can put him in, and I feel good about that. I don't know if they're going to disrupt this starting 5 for Lucas Niang before the postseason. I just can't see him doing it right now. I think they would have if they were going to. So that's a positive for me. You have rookies that have played through the wall, in my opinion, in terms of hitting that point in the season where they played as many games as they played in college. Mm-hmm. And they haven't wilted yet. Are they having some struggles at the outside corner? The guys that weren't first-round picks? Yes. But they're not wilting. They're not falling apart. So that's another good thing. What else you got, Dan, on the positive side?
They are getting healthy. Hardman practiced this week. Yeah, he wasn't active, but they didn't feel like they needed him. Kadarius Toney played. This offense, Clyde's theoretically going to be healthy. They're going to have a nice 3-back rotation going in. And I know that none of you like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I understand that. He's probably their best goal line back. I know that Pacheco's getting better. He's definitely their best red zone option, and they would rather use Clyde in the red zone as opposed to Pacheco. He's getting more trust, but again, fumbles, take that away. This team's going to get healthy going into the postseason. They have, again, a cupcake schedule down the stretch. If they can eke out the rest of these wins and take a healthy team, all they care about is winning and staying healthy. If they can do this, getting into the postseason, they're going to come to play. I can promise you right now. They're going to play their best football with a healthy football team in January. Bank on it right now. Promise.
I'm not going to argue. Where are those Jaguars at? They are sitting 6-8 now.
Yeah.
They could push their way into the postseason where they're playing. They knocked off the Dallas Cowboys today. If they get in, they might be a team that might be able to put a hurting on either the Bills or the Bengals. So
very true.
We should become Jaguars fans. I'm going to tell you guys that. And good for good for Trevor Lawrence for surviving.
Trevor Lawrence is playing a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. The last month plus, he has been incredible.
Yeah.
Hats off to Doug Peterson. Hats off to that entire team for enduring what they dealt with last year and getting to a competent, smart coach who knows what he's doing. I have so much respect for Trevor Lawrence and what he's done the last month and a half. So hats off to everyone in Jacksonville.
Scott Hankins, I like your idea. Use Ron Jones in 3rd and short, the old school style. The only problem is the offensive line is not an old school line. They don't get the push that he thrives off of. And when he is good, it is about cutting off the butt of one of the offensive linemen that has gotten him a yard or two already. I don't know that it can be that successful.
Let's talk about the 3rd and 1 play really quickly. Shotgun. Use a little bit of motion to identify man coverage. Hey, Kelsey, run across the formation. Hey, look at that. It was easy. All I'm saying, stop. Did you see the fullback out there on 3rd and short this game? Did you see it?
No.
Nope. They're learning. Hey, they learned a little bit.
Hey, I want Mike on the field.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
a
fine.
Mike Burton believer.
I don't even know if he
let's
got
just
any
do
snaps
something
this
different.
game.
I don't think that he did. Let's just do something different with him. Because honestly, some of the H stuff that Noah's doing, Mike can do in the same spot. He doesn't have to be in an I formation for me. I just want him on the field because he proved last year he can make some big plays for you. He started out all right this season, but now everybody just keys in on him every time he's in the ballgame.
Yep.
So Got to change it up. Aaron, Back Talk Bros are going to be live later. Check them out on their channel. That's Stevie and Gooch and Aaron and the guys. So always want to check them out. Thank you guys for being here. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs flea flicker pass? In my notes, and Tyler, I was holding off on this because that would probably be for those members that were waiting on my rant. I apologize for last week. I took it down because I recorded it and I could not get. I don't think I strung together 6 words that were not foul language in any sentence in that rant. So I decided it was too much fire for me. I didn't want to come off that way. So I took it down. This week, if I do one, it will be about this pass because my number one note on that whole drive was, really? You really needed to go to a double pass flea fleeker BS kind of gadget play against the Texans? Instead of just throwing the slants, instead of just running those medium drags that they do all the time that get plays, why? There's no reason that defense stopped you from doing any of your normal offense. It was totally uncalled for. The only plus of it is now the teams are going to prepare for it. So it is going to burn a little bit of time for the opponents in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
Anything I missed on that one?
No, you got it 100% covered.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tyler. Though. Very good point.
Tyler.
Organ fishing. Thanks, buddy. In Bucker's defense, ankle injuries are tough. Absolutely. And it looks like he's over kicking easy kicks. And I agree that it might be a compensation issue. It's kind of in his head a little bit, but it is what it is. Alan, today's win is an embarrassment. Agree or not? What do you think, Dan?
Okay, so I'll only go so far in discrediting the team. I won't say that any win is an embarrassment in the NFL. I'll never say it. I will say that they did not have their best game. They didn't show up again. But again, I'll never say that it's an embarrassment. If they would have lost this game, yeah, embarrassed. When that 3rd and 4, that was embarrassing. That in overtime, that 3rd and 4 was embarrassing. A win is not an embarrassment. So you'll never see me say that win's an embarrassment. They definitely had some of their jock straps hanging up in multiple areas in the football game. I'll tell you that much. So they're not going to be too happy, and they shouldn't be.
Daryl's looking forward to a rant from you as well.
All right.
Okay.
That
not going to be a problem this week.
We'll see. I got a busy week. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow. We're celebrating today, but we're going to the aquarium tomorrow, so I'm not going to be able to do a ton of real stuff. So we'll see what I got time for this week.
Cool. If not, I'll make up for it. Not a problem.
Okay.
Tyler, Burton got 1 snap. Okay, I'm glad I missed that. It must have been that pressured throw from the end zone. They faked the dive and threw to Juju. Okay. Well, and maybe that's what Dyson or Dylan's getting at here as well. I think Dyson said it as well. Is it setting up the postseason? You got to hope so, because otherwise it's just silly at this point. So Hopefully that's exactly where they're going with it. Daryl, thank you for saying this for me. And thanks for the support in the process. Happy holidays to everyone and wish you the best. We will have content for you this week.
Absolutely.
We're going to take it easy on Thursday. We'll probably take it easy, or not on Thursday. I'm sorry. We'll take it easy going into the ball game. And then post game is going to be rather quick, given the day and all that. But we will be live for you, so make sure you check that out. We appreciate all of your time. Last call. I'm going to hit the last super chats, and we will call it a night because there are more games coming. You can go over to Back Talk Bros when we're done here in just a minute. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for being here as well, and to the community for being here. We appreciate you guys because you run these shows half the time because we answer your questions. Just want to say thank you for whoever gifted me a membership. Seth,
that's awesome.
I'm guessing her name is Miss Holly.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm going to preempt that and just say thank you, Holly.
Appreciate it.
Red, thank you to you and yours. Wow, really?
Wow. Thank you, Holly.
You're incredible. Incredible, Miss Holly.
Incredible. Thank you.
And, awesome. For spreading the word in Chiefs Kingdom, too. Because, especially in games like this, people can get bitter and get...
All right, so now that we have 20 new subs out there, guess what? We're going to have a rant for you guys so you can see what you're missing. We'll get at some point this week. We'll get one out there so you guys can get some real nice members content and see what my language looks like when it's not so professional. How about
I like that. And along those lines, happy birthday to Avery. Appreciate you,
Thank
buddy.
you,
Glad you're
everybody
here.
else that said that happy birthday to Avery. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Miss Holly, you are a legend. So on that note, we will call it a night. Enjoy Sunday Night Football. Check out Back Talk Bros. We'll be back with you tomorrow for the Q&A. Anything that we didn't cover tonight, make sure you show up tomorrow night, and we'll get into all that. We will have done a little bit of review, at least stats and snap counts, so we'll have that for you tomorrow. Like, sub, hit the bell. Thanks for being here. Dan, thanks for taking time away from the little one.
Of course, everybody. This is what we do. We're here to vent. We're here to release a little frustration. But at the end of the day, the Kansas City Chiefs have won the AFC West once again. They are now 11-3 on their way to another great, hopeful Super Bowl run. Just keep remembering that's the end game. It's the end game.
Exactly. Win's a win. Check out the new AFC West Champions shirt in the gear store. It is linked in the description. You can get there as well. Should be at the top of the page. If not, I'll tweet out the other one and put it here back in the chat in a minute. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.